I believe America functionally has four political parties right now. They are MAGA, which are the anti-oligarchy, non-fact believing wing of the Republicans. They are the GOP, which are the extremely pro-oligarchy, willing to lie to their people wing of the Republican Party. There are the corporate Democrats, who are honest about social issues but drag their feet when it comes to doing anything about them, and are also loyal to corporations, very pro-oligarchy. And then there are progressives, who, in my opinion, are the only people, the only political faction in the United States of America who are at all serious about getting things done that help Americans, who at all care about actually helping the country. I've also been pretty forthright, about the fact that I believe we're going to have a party split again soon. We had one in America in the 21st century, where the Democrats and Republicans did a do-si-do. I think we're headed right back for that. Here is Michael Steele, the former chair of the RNC from 2009 to 2011, talking about the loyalty pledge that Donald Trump has been asked to sign as part of running for president, because he is not under arrest yet, as part of running for president as a Republican in 2024. Let's have a look.
Good evening from Washington, D.C. I'm Michael Steele. Chris Hayes will be back here tomorrow night. But tonight, I'm your host.
Let's just pause there for a moment. Michael Steele, former head of the RNC, former RNC chair. He's guest hosting on MSNBC. What does that tell you about Republicans and Democrats? Now, MSNBC is supposedly more a news network than Fox is, but Chris Hayes, he is as left-leaning as you get on that network, unless you're talking Mehdi Hassan. God bless him. And the former RNC chair is guest hosting for him. That should tell you a lot about how the corporate Republicans and the corporate Democrats get along, and that should clue you in to where I think how the split will also result in a merge. Let's let him give the breakdown on the split in the GOP. Bearing in mind, he represents the traditional Republican. 2009 to 2011, that's when the GOP still had as part of its platform bigotry against homosexuals. Now, it still does. It has had a return to that. But this is back when it was corporate acceptable to be hateful. That's when he was leading this. That's not a good guy up there. Just bear that in mind.
No, normally I'm on the other side of the desk as a guest because, I ran the Republican Party and all that and have a little bit of political expertise. So tonight I've got a message for anyone looking at this current Republican Party. If you're waiting for it to get better, it's not going to happen. The Republican National Committee is trying to rein in Donald Trump and missing the point completely. RNC Chairwoman Ronna Romney McDaniel wants Republican presidential hopefuls to take a loyalty pledge in return for a spot on the 2024 debate stage. And the policy is aimed at making sure Donald Trump doesn't tank the party's chances by running as a third-party spoiler if he loses the primary. But getting Donald Trump to sign a loyalty pledge is, well, a fool's errand. Donald Trump isn't loyal to anyone but himself. This is a man who turned his back on his oath of office, by the way, that led to a deadly insurrection against his own government. And Trump has been very clear about what he thinks of these loyalty pledges.
Earlier today, Larry Hogan, who's going to run, told me that if you are the nominee, he will support you. My question to you, Mr. President, if you're not the nominee, will you support whoever the GOP nominee is?
It would depend. I would give you the same answer I gave in 2016 during the debate. The first question I was asked by Brett Baer. I was asked two rather interesting questions. It would have to depend on who the nominee was.
And that right there is the issue. The RNC is trying to run the same playbook from 2016. Instead of tackling the Trump-shaped monster they've created head-on. Now, the problem with the MAGA Republican Party is not that Donald Trump might run as a spoiler next year. The problem is that Trump's movement within the party is rotten to the core.
So there is, I just want to stress this, former chair of the Republican National Convention calling the MAGA movement rotten to the core, saying that people are missing the point about, or rather, Ronna McDaniel is missing the point with this loyalty pledge. Essentially, what he's doing here is acknowledging that there are two disparate groups in the Republican Party. They are at odds. They don't believe in the same things. What we have had is a takeover of a political party. I'm not going to lie to you. Progressives are trying to do the same thing for very different reasons. Are they even that different? Let me refresh your memory as to what I'm talking about here. Here it is as we currently exist. This is the current political system, the 40 parties therein. Left and right, you have social issues. Top and bottom, you have their stance on the oligarchy that we currently live under. MAGA, unfortunately, is willing to believe the lies. All the lies that the GOP spent years and years promoting in order to distract from holding corporations and the rich in general accountable. MAGA believes those, but they have no love of the oligarchy. Most MAGA folks, they are against billionaires controlling everything. These are the people that complain loudest about George Soros. But instead of blaming the billionaires, they blame Jews. They're constantly talking about how globalists control everything. They're Alex Jonesing it. Progressives are against the oligarchy as well, but their eyes are open. They are, you might say, woke. Progressives are the people who pay the most attention to the facts, who care about citing sources. Progressives are why I feel obligated to list all of my sources in the description of these videos, as well as what you can do about it. Good. If everybody had the attitude that progressives have when it comes to sources, guess what? Everybody would be progressive. That, or they'd have to admit that they are rich and so they vote for the rich, basically then being corporate Democrats. But don't discount that middle chunk. Lying about social issues, honest about social issues. Corporate Democrats are honest about social issues. And they drag their feet when it comes to solving them. They make an appeal to progressive voters and any voter who is willing to open their eyes and be honest about what's going on in America. They make an appeal by saying we must work with these corporations in order to achieve these things. We must go slowly. In other words, they're a conservative party. They're not our conservative party. They're not America's conservative party. They are a conservative party, one of three in the United States. And they make their case by saying we must move slowly to solve these social issues that we acknowledge exist. Global warming, racist cops. They acknowledge these things exist, and they promote caution in dealing with them. They promote moving slowly in dealing with them. What we have fighting the GOP and MAGA is that sort of weak response. We have a conservative response to conservative problems. It's not good, but we should be honest about what we are looking at. Who are corporate Democrats? Let me give you some examples. Joe Manchin, who owns coal companies, coal mines, I should say. Joe Biden, although admittedly, he has shown a willingness to change his opinion based upon popular outcry. But by default, the man is conservative. Basically, everybody you have in the Democratic Party who has not made a call for Medicare for all. They are all corporate Democrats. They have in common with the GOP a loyalty to corporations. They are bought by corporations. They take corporate bribes every single campaign. Nancy Pelosi, goddamn her, and damn her memory. I hate how often I hear her praised because she was a savvy politician. Mitch McConnell's a savvy politician. I don't like him. We had the True North Eager Beaver podcast list Mitch McConnell as one of the best politicians in the United States currently. Not because they like the guy, but because he is skilled, and I agree with them. He's incredibly skilled. So was Nancy Pelosi. And both of them were loyal to the grave for corporations. Remember the differences between these factions and the fact that we are in a struggle every single primary. By the way, vote in primaries. Get progressives on the ballot in the general. Remember the difference between these groups as Mr. Steele goes on.
So tonight, we have the proof that Fox News Channel, which wanted to be the official Trump TV network, was willing to platform people they knew were dangerous liars, no matter what the cost was to democracy. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. We also have this Scott Adams guy, the Trump sycophant behind the comic strip Dilbert last week. He went on a racist tirade where essentially he called for returning to racial segregation.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group.
Remember what I said. Who is willing to lie about social issues? MAGA and the GOP. That's who's willing to lie about social issues. Going forward, we might lose the GOP as one of those groups who is willing to lie about social issues, because we might lose them as a genuine political faction at all. But bear in mind, there is Scott Adams lying about a social issue. What did he say? Let's get that audio.
Not according to me. All blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll.
He says blacks are not okay with whites. I haven't got that impression. Gotta tell you, I haven't got that impression. Also, the polls, I don't know what insane poll he's looking at. Polls don't seem to bear that out. And I have a feeling the poll he's looking at doesn't say what he's saying it says. That would be par for the course for the GOP.
Not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. That's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population.
Isn't that special? And what was behind Scott Adams when he delivered that racist screed? A copy of his pro-Trump book, Win Bigly, featuring one of his cartoon characters styled as the ex-president on the cover. Many newspapers decided to stop carrying Adams's comic strip after the rant. So you can be sure that the Republican Party and their friends on Fox News will soon turn him into the next cancel culture martyr. This is what the RNC has allowed the party to become. Idealizing and idolizing support for folks like Scott Adams and Kyle Rittenhouse, the then teenager who was acquitted of murder after he shot and killed 2 racial justice protesters back in 2020, and the January 6th insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol in an attempt to violently overthrow the government.
Just want to be clear, Kyle Rittenhouse killed people for fun. And he's had a little career after his killings. just talking about same old MAGA nonsense. There's a bunch of traitors. That's the MAGA crowd. That's what Michael Steele is pointing out. It is a different group than the group he used to consider himself a part of.
But are now being treated as political prisoners by the MAGA movement. A rational Republican Party would not stop these folks, would not prop these folks up as heroes. But the MAGA Republicans have sold their souls to Trump's brand of culture war politics. And for the RNC, guys like Scott Adams are just another way to fundraise off of grift and grievance. They can spin his narrative into another tirade against woke culture to dumb down the narrative, score some political points against the Democrats, and raise a few more dollars along the way. So forget loyalty pledges. If the RNC wants to get its house in order, start by throwing out the MAGA grifters.
So here's the question. Republicans already had less numbers than Democrats. Do you really think they're going to throw these folks out? They can't afford to when they know it. That's the problem they're dealing with. If you, ask yourself this, if you were a GOP politician and you recognize these MAGA people for the poison that they are, if that's you, what would you do? If you are like me and like many other level-headed GOP politicians, you're probably going to come to the conclusion that it's time to jump ship, to switch parties. But where do you go in this two-party system? Well, obviously, you got to go to the one place that you can, the Democrats. Will they have you? Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Ted Lieu is a classic example of how this works. All you got to say is pretty please and they'll let you in. They're happy to have the votes. And you know what? I can't say I blame them. It makes sense. It's smart politics. It's going to depend how 2024 goes. And I have a feeling that 2024 is going to be rough for the GOP. Because now we have this pattern established. In the reddest places, the craziest people will get elected. That will bring down the party as a whole. That will give us things like what we see in the House, where it is an absolute show. It's a nightmare in the House. They cannot get anything done that actually aligns with an agenda. Even an agenda of framing Democrats for anything and everything that they can think of. Because at the end of the day, you need facts still. What is this going to look like if that bears out? If 2024 is as punishing for the GOP as I think it will be, what's that going to look like? It's going to look like this. Although they won't be called MAGA, I think they'll be called still the Republicans. I think MAGA is going to take over. I think you're going to have a party that has more MAGA-leaning people than traditional Republicans. I think we're going to get a massive influx of Republican senators, House members, etc., etc. And I think this is going to be the new breakdown of their belief systems. We're going to have people on the far right who are against the oligarchy, but who lie about social issues and support right-wing social issues. Therefore, basically a party of conspiracy theorists. That's going to be the new Republican Party. In the middle, you're going to have people who are loyal to corporations. They're going to have a ton of money. They're not going to need as many people donating to them, for example. They're going to be able to buy lots of commercials and call themselves centrists. But they won't be centrists. They will continue to be right-leaning. They are going to start lying about social issues because their main competition will come from progressives. Lying about social issues is going to have to be adopted into their party because they are going to lean more and more into purple areas. trying to get purple votes, people who in districts and in states, that's a toss-up. Could go either way. And they are going to support no action on those social issues because more and more that will be something their voters disagree on, and so they will try to avoid it altogether. You're going to have the same old left against the oligarchy, honest about social issues and supporting left-wing social issues. Look at the top bar. So you're going to have a similarity between progressives and the GOP, which will become against the oligarchy, strangely enough. You are going to have progressives and corporate Democrats now at odds over social issues. And you are going to have corporate Dems and MAGA agreeing about the lies on social issues. And finally, you are going to have left-wingers supporting left-wing social issues, right-wingers supporting right-wing lies about social issues. And then you in the middle are going to have a party which supports no action at all. And if you want to know who are going to be the main competitors, it's going to be the middle and the left, and that'll be that. With a third voice from the reddest of the red chiming in occasionally. That's what I'm anticipating. Brace yourself for it. Get ready to convert. That is what I suggest you do. Understand how to convert. You convert people from MAGA by playing to their feelings about the ultra-rich. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth about the corporate tax rate. Tell them the truth. But play to those truths that matter to them. The rich have an unfair advantage over everybody else right now. Be honest about that and convert. The other stuff, that will follow. They're only going to watch one or two segments from MSNBC or one or two segments from Sam Cedar online before they start to understand how much they're lied to. Good. That's a fine way to handle it. Convert from the corporate Democrats by showing them the truth about social issues. More and more, I'm expecting Democrats to downplay what a problem the transphobia is. More and more, I'm expecting them to downplay what a problem Fox News is. Be ready to convert from corporate Democrats to progressives. That is a battlefield that we should be on right now. And even if I'm wrong, even if I am totally wrong, and we keep the traditional GOP and their buddies, the traditional Democrats, and MAGA just sort of peters out because it's too embarrassing. Keep it up. Keep up the conversion from corporate Democrats. Because right now, a lot of our political effort, a lot of our energy is drained supporting these candidates, these corporate Democrat candidates, who don't help us. All they do is stop us from getting hurt by having a farther right person in office. But they make no progress on actually legislating against corporations because they are in the pockets of corporations. Be ready to convert. Regardless, I think we've got a big split coming. First in the GOP, and then when there is no GOP, then in the Dems. And I think it's going to be healthy for us. I think it'll be good to have the clear battle lines. And by the way, I'm happier debating with Republicans who at least pretend to care about democracy in the form of Democrats than I am debating with MAGA, which is just a bunch of nonsense. So I think it's going to be good for us. Let's, A, make sure they lose bad in 2024. Register to vote, vote in the primaries. B, be ready to convert. Proselytize, baby.